We launched in America and that took off immediately. We did 1 crore in 2 weeks.
एक ऐसी टॉय कंपनी जो इंडिया से निकली है। आज आए हैं ध्वनिल शेठ जो स्किलमैटिक्स के फाउंडर है। उन्होंने एक ऐसी टॉय कंपनी बनाई है जिसकी इनोवेशन इंडिया में, जिसकी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इंडिया में और एक्सपोर्ट यूएस में भी होता है। आज के पॉडकास्ट में हम यही सीखते हैं कि आप कैसे इंडिया में बैठ के इनोवेशन, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और एक कंज्यूमर बिजनेस बना सकते हो।
Toys as a category globally is a very large category. $120 billion market size. Lego has got a single digit market share, but उनका 10 billion का revenue है, 35% का profit है.
Crazy.
It's crazy, right? When we were doing this full analysis, which categories will move online? US में 50% of toy sales happen in calendar quarter 4 because of Christmas. तो अगर आपका दुकान है, economics don't make sense for a standalone retailer. 9 महीने के लिए demand is much lower. So this was a category that was keep moving online.
पहला प्रोडक्ट क्या था?
It was a nightmare. हमारा पहला हाइपोथेसिस था बेस्ट एज ग्रुप टू टारगेट इज 3 to 6 year old children. 0 to 3 में the children only have certain amount of capability. 3 to 6 there the child is a lot more active. Talking, is running. At that time the child is going to school for 1 hour a day. So there's a lot of free time that the parent has to occupy their children with. 2020 was just a straight up, so that 10 crores went to 50 crores. Three things that worked was 2023 to 2024 calendar year, we went to almost 500 crores. By the end of 2024, we had essentially more capital than we had ever raised. Everything was going well, solid team. And then comes 2025 and tariffs chaos. Let's see how this year goes.
This year on track to do 650.
Hopefully.
Crazy, 10 years में you should be at, I don't know, 5,000 crores.
Sorry. There are some founders and entrepreneurs who can think like that.
Do you think like that?
No, I don't. Like that time, what was it, 20s? So no one funded us, man, because like किसी को पैसा नहीं देना था. Like it was a Bombay-based company. That time it was very different. Today it's not like how it is now. Only Bangalore. It was very heavily tech. And also most importantly, no one was willing to buy this idea कि भाई India से बैठ के you'll make a brand in America. Why would they buy that? You know, there was. If you also a lot of the investing principles was that time proxy लाओ. Uber है वहाँ पे ओला बनेगा.
Copy वाला जो मॉडल.
Yeah, you know, it's very
inspirational copy वाला.
Very tried and tested, right? There's no first principles thinking इसमें.
Yeah.
Amazon है वहाँ पे Flipkart बनेगा. It's logical. It's not wrong.
Uber, Ola.
They will. Every business was like that. In fact, they told me also कि भाई करना है तो इंडिया में D2C कर लो. Don't go for the bigger market because we don't see कैसे होने वाला है. In fact, funnily enough, most founders don't go through that anymore, especially because like
funding मिल जाती है.
बहुत जल्दी मिलता है. अभी now you get it in 12 months you should be able to get funding, right? 18 months. Little bit you'll do and then कुछ तो momentum आ जाएगा.
Pedigree है तो फिर तो और आसानी से.
Pedigree तो guaranteed मिल जाएगा. Like you may not get the best fund. I mean there are a lot of other caveats, but ऐसा नहीं कि you will not get it. You should certainly be able to get it because इतना value creation हुआ है that today everybody wants to invest, no? Like today if I had to leave BCG and do my business again, my whole partnership only would have invested. My bosses, all of them would have only given me the seed money. So times are very different. To go through that for 3 years, then that time itself was fine only. Again, if you ask my dad's generation, they're like, "Hey, what are you crying about? We to mortgaged a house to build a business." Fair. So my progressively it's become much easier. Nothing to complain. This saal mein, like I can't tell you what it's been like. It's been a.
I would love to know later.
I mean, it's fucking crazy, right? I mean, imagine running a business जहाँ पे 70% of your revenue is coming from America, 55% by volume, and you don't know what the rate is going to be of the tariff. मतलब how many times has it changed?
Yeah. But going back to the OG story, why toys?
Why toys? I think it started because of coming back to my BCG days, right? I was working in Canada, वहाँ पे studying. Toronto में based था. I was basically studying कि like how will categories in offline move online. हमारे clients जो थे, they were large Canadian retailers. So
okay.
They were selling everything.
जैसे कि example.
जैसे Walmart type. मतलब
कनाडा के Walmart.
हाँ, कनाडा के ऐसे टाइप की जनरल मर्चेंडाइज रिटेलर. लाइक जैसे आज इंडिया में डी मार्ट होता है या रिलायंस रिटेल, लाइक वेयर यू हैव मतलब सब कुछ मिलता है दुकान में. वॉलमार्ट बेस्ट एग्जांपल है. एंड देयर प्रॉब्लम वाज दैट कि हमारी जो सारी कैटेगरीज है वो हाउ विल दे मूव ऑनलाइन, राइट? और रिस्क कहाँ पे है और हाउ कैन वी प्रिपेयर फॉर इट, राइट, एज एन ऑफलाइन रिटेलर. And what we were doing at BCG was understanding from a consumer perspective कि देखो सब कुछ online जा सकता है लेकिन but where do consumers prefer the online experience, right? Or second most importantly that how are the economics online. That is also very, very important, right? Like while you can sell everything online, everything is not a good business. So those were the two important things we were analyzing. And one big insight that came was that parents, as a cohort of consumers, are a category that would move online in a big way. Now, why is that? Because parents, specifically first-time parents who are buying for their children, unke liye, what are the main things, right? One, they want more information about the products they're buying. Whether it's grandparents or parents, most times they're first time shopping the category, right? Now, offline in US, Canada, there's no assisted sales. Aisa koi sales banda nahi hai who will tell you what this product, buy this or buy that. Shopkeeper nahi hai. So online there is so much more information. You have videos, you have content, and most importantly, you have validation of other parents in the form of reviews, social media presence. So offline you don't know, right? So that was the one, it solved the problem of more information and more validation that other parents have said this is a good thing, and that's how parents typically buy. So that was, I think, a big opportunity that I saw. Now the second part to that was ki now toys as a category globally is a very, very large category, right? Uska kariban, I think, $120 billion market cap hai. TAM, right? Worldwide, not market cap. I would say like sort of market size. And उसमें से
7 लाख करोड़ ना?
Yeah, I got it. And I think उसमें से 35% is in the US. Now, category is actually very attractive because बहुत large category है और काफी fragmented है. There are multiple brands who have built very large positions in this market. For example, Lego has got a single-digit market share, but उनका 10 billion का revenue है, 35% का profit है. Like what I'm trying to say is you can build a very strong niche in a very large fragmented market. And there is an ability to differentiate, like because you can create a differentiated brand or products. ऐसा नहीं है कि सारे products are commoditized, right? Like I mean, जैसे fashion में it becomes more and more difficult. Right? And the idea that I had was that look, as this category moves from offline to online, how toys will be purchased will be different. जैसे offline environment में क्या होता है that the child drives the purchase. Like a girl may walk into a store, may like a Barbie doll, and therefore dolls are a product and Barbie is a brand.
Very good point. Yeah.
But when this
Papa मुझे ये चाहिए, Papa
correct, and so therefore the decision maker is very different. It's the child, and the whole purchase experience is very different. As this category moves online, the buying behavior is very different. Abhi parent, grandparent, uncle, aunt, they are buying. Who's building a brand for them? What do they want? Right? What are parents' needs? Parents' needs are let's keep first and foremost, if there's a brand that adds value to my child in terms of skill building or reinforcing a learning outcome, obviously that is top priority for any parent. Second, is there a product that is very engaging that can keep my child independently occupied? Parents have limited time. Independently occupied so that I don't have to give them a screen. Right? Because any parent, I'm a parent, right? I have a 3-year-old. I would say screen time is among the top 3 concerns that we have, right? You want to ensure that jitna bhi possible, you want to limit that exposure. So if you could, so the idea with Skillmatics as a brand was precisely this, right? That how do you build a brand that addresses the new age parents' needs, which is learn through play, which is screen free, which is sustainable. Like our products are, we do a carbon offset of whatever carbon footprint our products leave. Right? And that is now almost 70% coverage of our sales. These are all architected to address a parental's considerations. Obviously, the products have to be fun and engaging for children. But in our view, that is a secondary consideration, right? It has to obviously happen. Otherwise, the brand would not have grown to the extent that it has. But that was really the opportunity. And the whole idea was that ki bhai, agar main India mein jaake take advantage of India's cost structures, manufacturing, talent, technology, and use digital channels to go direct to consumers globally, right? Because theoretically barriers nahi the, right? Your ability to reach consumers through social media had removed the barrier of access. You could sell to them through your website, Amazon, at least initially. And most importantly, you could understand preferences because abhi itna data hai, right? You can scrape reviews to understand ki parents ko kya acha lagta hai, kab bura lagta hai. Like, it's very easy to understand actually. But no one was thinking like that. And so our idea was that if we in fact, when we started, nobody was a parent only in our company. And today we are by far India's largest toy and game business, right? Obviously now many of us have grown into becoming parents. But the funny part was no one was when we started. तो हमारा कोई bias ही नहीं था. We looked at it very analytically कि you know what is the opportunity, and that's how we started. Obviously it didn't work out as easy as I would have thought. You know, as I mentioned, first 3 years really struggled, right?
17 में स्टार्ट किया था ना आपने? 16
16 में चालू किया था, 17 में लॉन्च हुआ. 1 साल लगा just to get the product off the ground.
We will come to the 2017, but अभी प्री इस पे चलते हैं. तो आपने एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग बात बोली, ऑफलाइन टू ऑनलाइन वाली. जब आप रिसर्च करते हैं आपको सिर्फ पेरेंट्स, मतलब इंटरेस्टिंग फॉर मी इसकी आपको पेरेंट्स वाला सेगमेंट मिला और कोई मतलब जेनजी यंग ऑडियंस का नहीं आ रहा था आंसर की यंग जनता ऑनलाइन खरीदती है. पेरेंट्स बहुत ही एक स्पेसिफिक चीज बोली आपने.
करेक्ट. I think वो कैटेगरी और कोहॉर्ट ऑफ कंज्यूमर्स आई फेल्ट बहुत अट्रैक्टिव था because see a brand when built should have some purpose and meaning, right? And what is a brand really, right? It's essentially a proxy of trust that you're accumulating, right? Sure, you can make another Gen Z fashion brand, but is trust very important? I don't know, right? It's more about like style, speed, I mean other attributes, right? But when it comes to parents buying for their children, there is a value in building a brand, right? Because parents have to trust the brand. You're essentially giving something to your child. You have certain standards in terms of quality, safety, experience, learning value. So brand बनाना आसान नहीं है, लेकिन जब अगर बन सकता है then it will have a lot of value, right? And lot more defensible. तो इसलिए I really liked this category because genuinely there is a need for a brand, right? In some cases you don't you don't need a brand of coffee mugs. ठीक है, brand बना सकते हैं, लेकिन but it means that is not in my view what is a brand. Like just putting a logo on something does not make it a brand. The question is there genuinely a requirement of like trust involved, and I think that is why this category I thought was very attractive. Yeah, I think that was it.
नाम एंड ब्रांडिंग क्या थी स्किलमैटिक्स की? क्या सोचा था आपने, कैसे नाम है?
Actually काफी सोचा था. The original thinking was that, see, we wanted something that was very clear कि it should be learning first, because that was the whole idea, right? That is what parents want, learn through play, right? That was हमारा proposition that we wanted to bring to market. Global toy and game industry में इतने toy brands हैं. I would say 95% of them are play first.
Got it.
Right? Like they're
from Hamleys to your Lego.
Or a Barbie or a Hot Wheels. They're all sort of, the brand is very play oriented, right?
सही बात है.
So we were like, there are opportunities to be differentiated and do learning forward, right? And that's why we wanted a brand name that really spoke to that positioning of the brand and the products. The second thing was that we wanted a brand that sort of was self-explanatory in what the products and the brand kind of stands for. So we wanted that learning part to be kind of encapsulated in the name. But we didn't want to call it like edu something or learning something, like, matlab kitne hazaro the, right? So we wanted something that was slightly differentiated. And actually one of the inspirations was that, when I was working in Canada, we were doing this project where we were studying how learning is going to move in the next 20 years from a sort of subject orientation to a skill orientation. And I will go to the extent to say that, look, we are not delivering learning outcomes. Like, we are not a substitute for a school or in any way, but our brand and products are to supplement what you are learning anyway in your natural course. And so that's how we think of ourselves, right? We think of ourselves as an education.
But बहुत additive है ना, like, sure, it's not a replacement, but
it's extremely additive. It's
very exciting in a sense that, like, when I saw I was seeing few products, guess the 10 and all that, and then मैं Amazon देख रहा था. एक तो crazy branding, मैं आपको कॉल पे बोला था, एकदम लगी रहेगी यूएस की कंपनी, यूएस के लोग हैं. बट हाँ, द पॉइंट वाज कि यूजुअली लाइक जब मैं भी एसएफ में था एंड आई मेट अ इंडियन अमेरिकन पर्सन देयर एंड आई वाज, वो अपने बच्चों के साथ आई थी बिकॉज स्कूल खत्म हो गया था. वो लगे हुए थे अपने फोन में और उनकी मॉम उनको डांट रही थी कि दिस इज नॉट अलाउड, लाइक शी वर्क्स एट गूगल ओनली, सो शी आल्सो अंडरस्टैंड्स कि क्या इम्पैक्ट है. लाइक नहीं, फोन वापस करो. वही लड़ाई चल रही थी. एंड आई वाज जस्ट थिंकिंग कि ये स्क्रीन टाइम वाला पंगा तो बड़ा है और होने भी वाला ही है कि आगे फॉर स्पेशली यंग किड्स. सो जो 2, 3, 4, 5 साल के बच्चे हैं, which is like the building block years. वहाँ पे आप क्या पढ़ाते हो, क्या सिखाते हो, कैसे सिखाते हो, वो भी कितना important होता है. And उस perspective से, correct me if I'm wrong, but Skillmatics in the long run should be a game changer. Like,
hopefully, right? I think that I think the problems are very real, and I think our whole goal is that can we be a partner to parents and families, right? And कि when we started हमारा like that time our focus was on 3 to 6
age.
as an age group. And then eventually, obviously, as we grew, we were like कि 1 year से 12 years तक, whatever your child's development will be, preferences will be, passions will be, whether they like puzzles or problem solving or art and craft, you should keep coming back to us, right? And or rather, we should basically be able to offer products that essentially fill all of those needs. And therefore, whether today at 3 years old, you may want a product that helps your child how to learn how to write. At 7, you may want a product that teaches your child about science. The point is the consistent should be us as a brand, right? And that would be I would say the larger goal we're trying to build.
Got it. And ये जो insight थी to start, आपने 2 चीजें बोली, एक offline to online का जब आप research कर रहे थे while you were at BCG, you realized that there's a big market for parents buying online. Number 1, and number 2, the toy thing, where did that come from? That insight कि toys में बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं.
Actually, वहाँ पे because when we were doing this full analysis, जब BCG के time पे था कि like which categories will move online, which categories will not move on. Toys was a category that will move online in a big way. I'll tell you why. Toys does not make sense in North America as a standalone offline business. इसलिए Toys R Us has not surprisingly gone bankrupt, जो वहाँ का सबसे बड़ा standalone retailer था, because US में 50% of toy sales happen, if not more, happen in Q4, calendar Q4, because of Christmas. तो अगर आपका दुकान है for 9 months, OND, तो the economics don't make sense for a standalone retailer, because 9 महीने के लिए demand is much lower, right? Fully concentrated demand है. So this was a category that was going to keep moving online, right? Because like, the only people who can play this game are either like you're a large mass market retailer that can adjust their space,
right?
कि Q4 में बड़ा toy section है, फिर shrink करते हैं. But again, online. Also, the other thing is that toys as a category, generally parents are less on time. What do parents want when they shop, right? They want convenience also, right? And online gives you now to same day delivery, but even back then you used to get maybe 1 day delivery. So anything parents are buying, and toys was one of the largest categories, would again suit online models because you'll be able to offer convenience to parents. Now, why toys versus other categories which parents buy for their children was that ability to differentiate. See, if I was making, let's say, diapers, now मेरे diaper में क्या special है? Right? There are people who've been making diapers for hundreds of years, right? Now, unless I can bring some innovation in that, which I could not think of.
आपने सोचा था मतलब अलग-अलग?
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं सोचा था. I thought कि ये category अच्छा ही नहीं है, because see, you have to look at categories where you can differentiate, bring something new to the market, or also where there are not a lot of incumbents taking dominant market share. Example I always like to give is, let's say, like you look at, if you wanted to start a beverage brand today, like Coke and Pepsi are like 80% of the soft drink market. Yes, you can create a health. There have been many cases, but it's very high competitive intensity here. The good thing about the toy and game industry is that it's very large, and while it's competitive, intensity is low because not single players don't have substantial market share. So like when one company has like 50%.
So what do you want to say about it?
Let's say Lego, right?
Lego is how much? 8%.
Yeah, 8%. Whatever you do, 10 billion by 120 billion, that is their market share.
Less than 8%.
So what I'm trying, but they're so dominant. That doesn't mean they're not dominant, right? They make 35, I think, from what I last remember, 35% profit. So it's not like it's not like they're not dominant. Hey, 3.5 billion.
3.5 billion top line.
No, 10 billion top line.
Okay, yeah, 3.5 billion profit.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that this
crazy.
It's crazy, right? So like the point is that, and there are many players like this. Obviously, this is the most famous example, but that was my point, right? That, you know, at least you can come in here, build a big business if you have a differentiated, like Lego built it based on a differentiated product at the time, right? The interlocking brick and so on. So that's what I liked about the category. You know, I prefer categories where there's not some crazy competition.
But being a CA, where do you develop a marketing / branding / product differentiation mindset? ये कहाँ पे सीखा आपने?
That's a great question, yeah. I think honestly, I think I still don't think I have that capability as well as my team. I think what I realized is what is the capability that is required, and then how do you identify the right people and convince them that they should join this purpose and this mission. For example, आपने marketing capability बोला था. Our first hire in America was not a head of sales to go do selling to offline retailers, which would be the first hire for most people. This is after, not to fast forward too much, but like, you know, when we became successful online, we eventually started building our offline presence. So for example, we have like people who have studied, who have basically studied design in India and in the US and have come here. We have someone who's done an early childhood education from Harvard, like a master's program, studied child pedagogy, like how children learn.
Pedagogy is the art of teaching, na?
Correct. Then we've got someone who studied child psychology again in the US. So what we've tried to do is identify what do we need, and then how do we basically identify the right people and bring them onto our team. And I think that is what we've been good at, as opposed to saying कि भाई मैंने सब कुछ सीख लिया है. That's actually far from the truth. I think everybody has certain skills. I think there are certain skills I have that I've tried to like double down on. But frankly, like in most cases, I'm actually very aware that I'm not good at many things. And getting the right people has actually been the key reason.
नहीं एग्रीड, बट ये सब 18-19 के बाद हुआ होगा ना. पहले 2-3 साल तो आपने ही हाथ पैर मारे होंगे, आपने सब कुछ किया होगा.
Yeah, fair enough. तो पहला product भी actually we had worked with a design agency to make the first product. So there was an agency that did a lot of India-based agency, but they did a lot of work for global publishers, and they were working with international book publishers, and so they had a lot of experience in the children's space and from an international perspective as well. So we had worked with them. So obviously I had worked hand in hand with them, but day one पे I realized कि भाई expertise उनके पास है. How do we work towards it and how do we like collaborate, right? So that's how we did it in the beginning. And this is true for all functions. Like जब चालू किया था, I didn't have money to hire a performance marketer and all of that. तो हमने भी एक agency के साथ चालू किया to start Amazon ads and so on, right? Obviously over time we built all of these capabilities in-house, right? As you grow. But I think for anybody starting, you know, in terms of in the audience or watching this, is that like I think you should be as light as possible in-house and leverage experts, because there are experts everywhere.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that was the basic principle we used, whether it was on product, brand marketing. I think wherever critical, like our first 10 hires, our first hire was a teacher. First hire in the company. Because we're like, we really want to be learn through play. We need someone who actually is an educationalist. So that was our very first hire. So that 1 or 2 hires you make, but then you have to start working with experts. And that's kind of how we...
Have you heard about this company called Surasa?
Surasa? No, I haven't.
You should check them out. Surasa is a company, Dubai based है. वहीं पे मैंने pedagogy और ये सब के बारे में सीखा था. तो basically मैंने यहाँ पे 1 महीना काम किया था just after college. And they teach teachers how to teach.
Oh, wow.
So pedagogy, they are all based on pedagogy. कुछ 3-3.5 लाख का उनका कोर्स होता है. एंड काफ़ी पुरानी कंपनी हो गया उनको भी, आई थिंक 10 साल के ऊपर. दुबई बेस्ड, दुबई में वो करते हैं, इंडिया में भी करते हैं. टीचर्स को सिखाते हैं कि कैसे सिखाना है, एंड देन उनकी लाइफ साइकिल को बिल्ड करते हैं. सो देयर कस्टमर इज टीचर, बट देयर इज बिग सिनर्जीज बिटवीन Surasa एंड Skillmatics दैट आई सी. अगेन फंडेड कंपनी. तो आप चेक करना, अगर आपको लगे तो आई विल कनेक्ट विद द फाउंडर.
No, definitely sounds very interesting.
But a very interesting model, like pedagogy सिखा रहे हैं वो, how to teach teachers. Like you're also doing something similar, but like of course you're...
No, definitely not teaching teachers, but I think that they're separate. But very interesting. Would love to get connected.
मेरे पास एक thesis है, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been lucky enough to speak to a lot of BCG McKinsey people, right? From like Anant of Mensa to like Atoshan from लंदन टू जयदीप ऑफ रेबेल फूड, सब मैकेंजी वाले हैं लोग. एंड मैं उन सबसे ही पूछते रहता हूँ कि आप लोग, you guys are insane at finding gaps, TAMs, scaling business from 1 to 100. Like Mensa is a big ass unicorn. Rebel Foods is a giant in the food space. Is it because मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है आपसे बात करने के बाद कि क्योंकि आप इतने बड़े बड़े क्लाइंट के साथ काम करते हो और अक्रॉस द ग्लोब करते हो, आपको बहुत सारे बिजनेसेस के अलग अलग स्वाद मिल जाते हैं. आपको समझ में आता है कि किस में क्या टाइम है, किस में क्या गैप्स चल रहे हैं, दुनिया किस तरफ मूव कर रही है. ये आप लोगों को समझ में आ जाता है. उसके बेसिस पे आप डिसीजन ले पाते हो कि यार मेरे को कुछ करना होगा तो मैं ये 2-3 चीजों में करूंगा.
बैंग ऑन, राइट. आई थिंक एक तो कॉन्टेक्स्ट, राइट, इतना कॉन्टेक्स्ट मिलता है. लाइक व्हेन यू वर्क अक्रॉस मल्टीपल, आई वर्क विद अ बैंक इन श्रीलंका, डिजिटल टेक कंपनी इन जापान, अ रिटेलर इन यूएस. So at a very young age, you get exposure, and keep in mind कि भाई, even before that as a CA, I was working in Deloitte as my articleship, and I used to audit a large IT services company. So my first exposure to business was even before BCG, जो articleship होता है CA में. I was working on a client that did IT services, but that's when I got introduced to the India-US business model, which as you can see has become a very outsourcing. But I think the principle that I took away was that भाई dollar revenue होगा, India cost होगा, business अच्छा रहेगा. Right, like it's very easy to see
leverage,
right? So as the advantage of working in sort of these kind of things is when you get exposure to multiple businesses, you start to pick up principles कि इसमें क्या अच्छा है, बुरा है, like how do things work. You get a lot of diversity. But I think the one other thing consulting does in general is that, especially early on, pehli job mein, and I think doing it for too long can also backfire, because then you don't, it's a lot of, it is more structured and theoretical, right? But it helps you think in very structured ways. One other thing all these like McKinsey, BCG and all talk about is like problem solving. They train you how to attempt
2x2 matrix and all that.
All attempt, like see, today they you think of a consulting team, right? You have no domain experience in say a certain space. You're going into a company and you're these young, sort of maybe high IQ people like attempting to solve a problem. But it's the process of structured problem solving that these firms kind of train you in. That becomes a very good frame. Ki jo bhi whatever you try to do, you kind of have that discipline in your mind. Ki okay, this is the problem. How can I structure the problem and break it down so that I can then try to solve it? So that is, I'm not surprised. Like all consultants will have a similar kind of problem-solving mindset. People are very similar across the world, and while there's a lot of focus on differences between countries and people, at their core, parents, for example, are the same all over the world. Every parent wants the best for their child. Every parent globally wants things that will help their child build skills or keep them away from screens. And these common human traits are actually universal. And even if you think of children, right? The good thing why Skillmatics has been able to scale globally is that every 3-year-old is learning how to write. Every 5-year-old loves animals. So like in some ways, the world and humanity is so similar. That is, on anything which is fundamental and core, you'll find deep similarities. On the flip side, how people operate is very, very different in different countries. For example, in Japan, I saw that, it's a very hierarchical way of working. A lot of reverence to whoever is senior, whoever is the better title, and so on.
Right.
You see that in, like, for example, North America, that's not so much the case at all. In the US, it's all very meritocratic. In fact, I don't think I've seen a more meritocratic
full capital culture. जो अच्छा काम करेगा आगे बढ़ेगा.
Exactly. It's like the free capitalism. I don't think I've seen more pure form of capitalism than America. It's just merit. Of course, there are other factors, but merit is really the core engine of progress there. And that's represented in cultures also, right? Like when you work there and even as you operate there as a business, it's very, very meritocratic. I think India is a blend of both, right? It depends which industry.
Hierarchy or...
No, I would say that, yeah, exactly, right? Now, if you're working in a large multinational, you will find it more hierarchical and more bureaucratic
more
and
Japanese.
More process oriented. If you work in a startup, you probably will find it more meritocratic and more
Fair, बिल्कुल
flat.
सही कह रहे हो.
And so I think that's the nuance that I've learned, right, about like operating in multiple countries. It's just interesting.
Fair. Now let's go to 2017 launch.
Yeah.
क्या हो रहा था, कैसे किया launch, पहला product क्या था?
अरे it was a nightmare, right? I mean, first though, no
पैसा
data.
कैसे इन्वेस्टर आपने स्टार्टिंग से निकाला था?
नहीं तो we had started with just some family capital between me and my co-founder. It was very modest sum. I think we started with 40 lakh rupees. And that was because we didn't have, and we had some savings from BCG and some family savings, and that literally was the amount we started with.
दोनों में लाके
40 lakhs. And in that 40 lakhs we had to hire a team. Also main cost तब inventory था. Because how do I मतलब कितना manufacture कर रहा है, so there was a constraining factor कि भाई इतना ही बना सकता हूँ, इतने ही product बना सकता हूँ. So it was extremely high stress, because if the first product failed, the company would have only failed. Because if that inventory had not moved, how would I have started the whole engine? So we did spend a lot of time testing the product, testing the price.
पहला product क्या था?
So हमारा पहला hypothesis था कि that the best age group to target is 3 to 6 year old children, because see 0 to 3 mein the child is very young and there is a limited amount that the child can do, and therefore your ability to create a differentiated product is less, because the children only have certain amount of capability. 3 to 6 actually is a good age, because there the child is a lot more active, is talking, is running, is a lot more active, and at that time the child is going to school for 1 hour a day, wo preschool, nursery jo bhi hai. So there's a lot of free time that the parent has to occupy their children with. And obviously you don't want to give a phone. Even if you want to give a phone, I would assume you don't want to give them more than 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So how do you occupy the children? Also, there is a lot of development that happens during this, right? Because you go from preschool to primary school. Around 6, you go into first standard. So learning how to write, for example, was a very important skill during this period that in our research came out. So we built these write and wipe activity mats that were essentially like kind of like table mats where you can learn how to write. And the whole USP was they were reusable. So you could use it, erase it, use it again. And obviously there was more to it. The content was very innovative. We taught how to like write and all these really engaging and fun ways. The form factor was very different. पहले क्या होता था, there were these write and write books जो इतने छोटे थे. For a 3-year-old, that's not enough space. They need like more real estate, because that's how they sit. Also, वो जो books थे, they, we studied that the pens were like a felt pen. They're very narrow. Young children need like thicker circumference of a marker, like a crayon almost, right? Like a thick crayon, because they're still forming their basic grip. So we reinvented and designed a new pen. So we did all of this work to kind of create a very differentiated product to address a problem that was very critical in the mind of the parent. And that worked. And
कैसे production, like manufacturing कैसे थी?
So we found contract manufacturers. I think one advantage we had was that both my family and my co-founder's family had some background in printing and packaging, and so we had that advantage that at least we could find somebody to make this first product. इतना complex भी नहीं था, but at least it gave us some start, right? The complexity was not really the contract manufacturing; it was more the design of the product itself. Where I mentioned I worked with this agency and so on.
कितना टाइम लगा ये सब करने में?
1 साल.
2017 ही चल रहा है ये पूरा?
हाँ, ऑलमोस्ट. आई थिंक हमने कंपनी इनकॉर्पोरेट किया अगस्त 2016. ये प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च्ड इन अगस्त 2017. So 1 year it took to just design this product, get it manufactured.
And MVP में कैसे आए आप? Like आप बहुत पेरेंट्स को देते थे, टेस्ट करवाते थे. MVP जो कैसे?
अच्छा, वो हमने प्रोटोटाइप्स बनाए थे. And we used to go meet mothers and get testing. Actually, even tab, we had shipped some samples to America, even at that time, because हमारा vision always was that we will build a global business.
क्यों था ऐसा कि अमेरिका में बेचेंगे? Because of the delayed experience?
Because of my experience at BCG, right? I was like, why can't you build a global brand from India, right? That was genuinely, हमारा जो company का नाम है was called Grasper Global. Grasper because children grasp and learn concepts, and global because that was genuinely the main idea. Because I was like, there are much larger business opportunity अगर हम global कर सकते हैं. And why aren't there global brands from India? prevalent, right? That was genuinely like how I saw it. So that was the thinking, very honestly, and that's why initially also we were like कि भाई US consumer से भी feedback लेते हैं. So we sent it there. Then we had a Google form, जो भी था, like they gave us feedback, and we refined that feedback. And then see, beyond the point, actually you just don't know. You have to take a bet. तो हमने क्या किया था? We tested कि how do you know which, अगर product भी अच्छा है लेकिन कौन सा theme चलेगा? Will it be like the writing theme, the preschool theme, the animal theme? We didn't know. So we took some calculated bet, and we launched. And fortunately, the results were good.
2017 अगस्त to December 26. कहाँ लॉन्च किया था आपने? क्या क्या किया था? ये थोड़ा चार
तो पहले we started in India because there was no way to get to America that time. हमारा there was no online way. This whole global selling from Amazon and Walmart was not possible. And the first trade fair was in early 2018. क्या होता है? There are all these trade fairs in Germany and US where you can go, take a booth, show your product.
Canton fair types.
Canton is more for factories. Like when you go, if you want to source something from China, this is more like front ended. You find a distributor or something like that.
Okay.
So you go to Germany and you show your product. Someone likes your product. A retailer may say, I want to look into it, or a distributor will say कि भाई मुझे आपके rights लेना है US में, ऐसा कुछ. So we're like, okay, तब तो time है, so let's start in India. I think the easiest way to start that time was online. We had listed our products on Amazon, and we started selling on Amazon. We at that point did not start our website because we had no money, and to start marketing on D2C you need to run Facebook ads and Meta ads, and it the economics were not very clear.
बड़े अच्छा टाइम था ना, like 2017-18 was like peak performance marketing time also.
Yeah, I think we had I agree. I think if you look at all of us, they all first, like, so some of these other founders were like
Boats of the world and Mama's of the world.
Mama, like, minimal, all of us were around the same time.
Yeah.
In terms of starting. So we were definitely first movers, and we had the benefit of lesser competition, lower CPC, all that. We were first to enter across categories. So that helped, no question. And we started online, and then we also did offline. So हमने क्या किया था? We looked at there are two parts. There is modern trade. That time Hamleys had 5-10 stores.
In India?
In India, I don't know. Must have been that.
Maybe 5
states. In fact, Hamleys that time, Reliance was the franchisee of Hamleys. Now, obviously, they own the whole chain. And they had, like, I don't know, must have been 10, maximum 20 stores at the time.
That's crazy.
And we got an appointment. We hustled our way to find out.
2017 में चल रहा है, 18 में आ गया आप?
Yes, 17 में हूँ. We hustled our way, found a contact, explained why they should meet us. They gave us a meeting. एक ही प्रोडक्ट. I mean 10 थीम थे, लेकिन प्रोडक्ट लाइन एक ही था.
नाम क्या था?
There is right and wipe activity maps, right? Like जैसे हमारा guess in 10 game है, like there are many themes, right? There is an animal theme, there's a geography theme, and so on. And then in the meeting वहाँ से Hamleys ने break दिया था. They started with certain number of stores. फिर हमने एक
क्यों दिया Hamleys? आपने ऐसा क्या बात करी? क्या बेचा आपने उनको, या क्या खरीदा उन्होंने?
I think we convinced them कि product differentiated है. And आपकी दुकान में there should be some learning products also. Like you can't just have toys. Like parents also want products.
Procurement से बात कर रहे थे आप? हाँ? Procurement team से बात कर रहे थे?
Buying team से कि देखो आपके पास हजारों toys है, लेकिन आपके consumer जो है also they are looking for things that are educational, और आपके पास ये होना चाहिए because that's what parents want. And they agreed. It was very logical.
कितना लिया उन्होंने? 100 piece?
No, they took more. I think the first order was, I think it was 20 or 30 lakh rupees was the first order.
Congrats, bro.
Yeah.
Must be feeling like crazy.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. The first order was...
कितने का product? 1000 रुपए?
700 rupees.
तो कितना हो गया? 30,000 units?
No, I don't know the math now, but... because it was across multiple lines, so but I know it was around that amount. 20-30 lakh was the original order.
First order?
The first set of orders. Like
सबसे पहला order क्या था?
It must have been lower, but I remember 20-30 because it came very quickly. Because what happened is first 5 stores, then they roll out to more stores, so it jaldi हो गया था. So I'm saying maybe in the first 3-4 months we got this much.
ये सब 2017 के पहले ही है.
Yeah.
खत्म होने के पहले.
Yeah, and that year I remember like our revenue must have been like 1 crore annual.
तो 5 महीने में
Yeah, no, एक साल में 2017, 18 around that was our
August 2017 to August 20 1 crore रुपए revenue.
till March 28
हाँ तो वैसे
fiscal,
ठीक है financial year.
yeah, and it was 1 crore or something like that.
But that's very good ना.
Yeah, it was good.
मतलब this PMF मिल गया था नहीं मिला था?
I think clearly मिल गया था. Because we were profitable, right? In fact, we've been profitable mostly throughout our life as a company, and we have more capital than what we've raised also.
Yeah.
And I mean, partly also because we had no option but to be profitable. अगर मतलब सवाल ही नहीं था ना.
पहले 3 साल तो funding ही नहीं मिली.
नहीं, company बंद हो जाएगा. So the PMF was very very clear. I think हमारा जो proposition था was relevant. Parents wanted it. Experience अच्छा था, pricing अच्छा था. We then launched into general trade. So we hired someone from the toy industry. He basically helped appoint distributors. So we appointed 5 cities में distributor: Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore.
General trade मतलब retailer store.
Retail stores.
Local stores type बंदा.
Local store, local toy store जो
कहाँ
होता
से
है.
उठाया आपने इसको?
Distributors, we went and pitched the product, right? हमने no आदमी को he worked in another toy company. I forget नाम क्या था, but but I think he had an experience in fun school and all back in the day. So he had a lot of experience. So I'd seen his CV. अच्छा था.
कब hire किया था आपने?
2017, that time only. And convinced him to join. He was the first few people with like one head of sales for general trade and one teacher.
It's smart work. It's not just hard work. आप hard work के साथ smart work भी कर रहे थे.
नहीं, absolutely. Thinking and taking the right decisions is most of it, I would say. And so that's how we had started, and then we broke in. Then we started to get revenue. Then we kept growing, added more channels. Then 2018 came. We tried to build more product lines. Grew the team a little bit. Still 10 people only. Chota tha. Trying to get funding was a big priority.
Why did you want funding?
Because how to grow, right? If I had to grow my business, I needed money for many things.
Fast growth चाहिए थी.
Fast growth bhi nahi, but like I needed some see, you need some little critical scale, right? Like to make also products, you need money to give so you can get inventory. You need money for marketing. You need a little base team. Hamara business was not like a service business, right? Where you don't need capital. Like you can just keep growing organically, or like just a pure tech business or tech product where there is no inventory cost. So I needed capital, right? And also such a small company, even though we were profitable, how much bank loan? You would not get anything, right? There's no history only of the company. So there was really no option. I needed some capital. So I was speaking to a lot of VCs and getting introductions, trying to figure out meeting kaise, like explain our proposition, explain our vision. Got a lot of rejection. Yeah, I would say all of 2018, I think I spent, my biggest priority was try to get some money. And that completely failed. Around that time, we had also gone for our first international fair. And I remember, in fact, one of our first hire in our product design team, I met her before going, saying that if I get an order at this fair, I'll come back, I'll be able to hire you. Otherwise, I can't hire you. And we luckily got an order, but
where? Germany?
No, it was random. It was Russia actually.
Russia गए थे?
Yeah, no, Germany गए थे. Like the order came from a Russian distributor, and so that's how we started doing exports. Also, we used to first do B2B exports. So, एक distributor होता था.
Russia was our first export.
Actually, Russia. Funnily enough, it was 2 markets. It was one Trinidad and Tobago, West Indies, and Russia. 2 random countries. Completely like random. Like they just met us. They liked us. They took the product. Because that allowed us to start the funnel, but we realized very quickly कि ये B2B model नहीं चलने वाला है. We have to go directly into America.
Why?
Because there are too many barriers, right? You are selling as a brand to
Margins
a distributor. A distributor is selling to a retailer. The retailer is selling to the consumer. Plenty of barriers, right? You need to go direct to the consumer. So a couple of things that work. So 2018 was like a giant failure of sorts.
2018 failure.
Yeah, I mean
funding failure, na?
Funding failure, but even business was not really growing. I think we grew. I think that year we did 1.7 crores in revenue.
Financial year or calendar?
Calendar year. I think it was 1.7 crores.
Hardly like 20-30%.
Yeah, but it's not some crazy growth. And then the next year, in 2019, is when things started to change. The things that made एक तो सबसे बड़ा point was that we managed to onboard on Amazon's global selling program, where they had started to identify brands and saying, okay, now you can, they had helped enable you to launch on Amazon America. And because we had spent so much time and effort making sure our product quality was, I think we must have had maybe 2-3 main lines of products, right? So Right and Wipe was one line, ऐसा 2-3 और थे. And we launched in America. And that took off immediately. Like I remember we did 1 crore in 2 weeks. In our first 4 weeks, may say, chalo, first 2 weeks was just setting up. The next 2, like the third and fourth week, we did 1 crore in revenue.
That must be a drug.
It was like I could not believe what was happening, right? It was like insane product market fit. Like it was. I mean, people say, how do you describe product market fit? It's something like this. Like you're like, you can't believe the demand that is happening, and you're just only worrying about supply. Like you're no longer worried about ki performance marketing kya hai. Like, marketing band kar lo. Like how do we make the product? Like when you have that problem, you hit PMF, and it just immediately took off, and then we were finally able to prove that look, international consumers want our products, right? Because it was directly coming from consumers. There was no intermediary. Amazon was just a platform. Fortunately, around that time, this was then early 2019, I was in talks with, Sequoia Capital at that time. They were one of the guys. They had liked us, but they had like, we need to see proof that, okay, you're saying global banayega. Like how? Show me something to prove that
global banayega.
Consumers will like it, right? You saying it is not enough. And I think that was the evidence I could give that look at this traction, that there is something to what I'm saying. And fortunately, they backed us. They backed us in our seed round. And
seed tha, seed tha?
Ek hi tha, seed. I mean, we did.
Next was Series A, seedha.
Yeah, we did 1 seed and then Series A and Series B, and that's it.
Don't we have raised 40 now?
No, we've raised $24 million in 3 rounds: seed, Series A, Series B. Series B was in 2021 and 2022 beginning. The money came in. After that, we've never raised money.
So 2019 में कितने raise किया था?
$1.8 million at that time.
Not a lot of money.
No, it was a lot.
के लिए बहुत था?
I mean, हमारे लिए तो it was like I could not explain how much money it was at the time. I thought it was
like not a lot of compared to the 24.
Yeah. Small. Correct. In context of where we are today, yes. But at the time, it was like, 10 crores. Now, like, I could not believe that someone was giving me this much money. I think it worked out very
early
well.
2019. In
2019. I think it was, in hindsight, it worked out very well for everyone involved. But that was a big break. Also, we had some angel investors who had backed us.
Exit did they? No,
they're still with us. Maybe 1 or 2 we've exited. But they all came in along the same time as Peak 15 or now Peak 15, that time. Correct. Sequoia Capital India. And that gave us a lot of ammunition. So funnily 2019 we came with a lot of momentum. Capital aaya tha, like everything. US was growing. And 2019 was amongst the worst years. Because we made crazy amount of mistakes. We were just not used to having so much capital. I think I'll give you an example. So I hired a bunch of people. One big mistake I made was I hired a very senior marketer. And India mein, it's performance marketer. And great CV, great ref checks, everything. And for whatever reason, I didn't feel this person's performance was, अंदर से लग रहा था कि ये fit नहीं है, नहीं चलने वाला है. But I was so scared that this person is so experienced, maybe I'm the problem, right? Like, and my judgment is wrong. Because it was my first ever senior hire.
How old was he?
How old was I? She?
How old was she? I
don't remember her age, but she was, 5 to 10 years older than me. But I'd seen her at least in terms of experience also, right? But then eventually I took 6 months to kind of say that, look, this is not working out. Had I done that a lot sooner, maybe.
But are you good at firing?
Now, very good. I mean, fortunately, not having to fire people that often, frankly. I think we've gotten very good at hiring, so you don't need to fire. But I think I've become a lot better at understanding, like if there's something off. It's also now we have 300 plus people, so like there's a lot of experience. At that time, it was the first time, right? So,
but what is not clicking with her according to you?
I just think that the work ethic I felt was not aligned to what I had in my mind, in my expectation. I wanted someone who was like all in, and I felt that was not the case, and so um, that was the major difference. It was nothing else really, and so that was one mistake we made, which kind of set us back a little bit. The second mistake we made was we appointed a distributor in America, like absolute idiots. Like I was the first person जिसने कहा था कि distributor नहीं चाहिए, we should go direct. But after seeing the traction that we got, some big distributors came to us and said, we'll give you crazy numbers. They were promising. And we, gullibly said that आप distributor बन जाओ US के लिए.
Exclusive दिया था क्या?
Exclusive दिया था 1 साल के लिए, and they did good numbers, but we realized that we are losing control of the market, and very quickly we realized ये गलत decision था. But we had to let the contract.
थोड़ा समझाओ क्या हुआ मतलब?
When you have a distributor in the middle, you lose control of the market, right? You're selling to the distributor selling on Amazon, and that was a stupid move in hindsight. See, at that time हमारे पास warehousing नहीं था US में. There were a lot of other operational constraints. So like we were like, this will help simplify that. We'll just make cash flow and then we'll use that to grow the business.
Fair, no?
Fair, but we realized that they were not like we were one of 100 brands. So while they were doing a decent job, that the drive and energy you have, they'll never have it, and therefore we learned early on that is an important lesson. And so we had to wait all of 2019 to unwind that. And then 2020 came.
COVID year.
And
COVID.
By then we had rectified our mistakes. We had got a correct team in place. We had got the product engine was now giving new products, and we launched. And our US channel was very much in our control. And that time we launched Guess in 10, which went on to become a blockbuster game. And the idea was very simple. Actually, we were trying that
2020?
2020, sub 2020 mein hua. And that time we were mostly selling learning aids, like these write and wipe activity mats, resources to help your children learn how to like build these kind of core learning skills. But we said, okay, why don't we get into educational games, right? It's an adjacent space. Also, that time a lot of our products were 3 to 6 years of age. We're like, why don't we do something for 6+ children? Expand the TAM and so on.
Yes.
And what we did was we tried to identify कि भाई बच्चे को किस तरह के गेम पसंद है already, rather than trying to create an underlying game mechanism. So we found that 6 to 9-year-old children love trivia based games, and there was
trivia मतलब
like question answer guessing games, and there was this game 20 questions which people played all over the world. मतलब कि मैं सोच रहा हूँ and you can ask me 20 yes or no questions to guess what I'm thinking. It could be on any topic, like is it a celebrity, is it an animal, and you have to just say yes or no, yes or no. And so we took that a step further and created this game called Guess in 10, saying you have 10 yes or no questions to guess what's on the card. And there is more to the gameplay, but that's the crux of it. And there are different games. So there's an animal theme, there's a states theme, geography, countries of the world theme, there is a like underwater. So all the topics that children are learning about during that age.
So Africa मेरे कार्ड में अफ्रीका के सब मुझे 10 क्वेश्चन दिए हुए हैं.
नहीं, you have to ask the 10 question. कि अगर I'll give you an example. तो अगर animal theme है, I picked up an animal, you don't know what it is. I'll give you 2 clues, buzzwords. तो मैं बोलूँगा कि लिखा हुआ है कार्ड पे like let's say herbivore and land animal. I'm just giving a random thing. Now you can ask me 10 yes or no questions. तो आप पूछ सकते हो कि does it have 4 legs? Does it fly? Is it found in Africa? Is it light? Kids ask all these very basic, simple questions.
Interesting.
But the idea is through this game, you build problem-solving skills.
Yeah.
Because your instinct will be to start guessing. But that's never the right way to win. The right way to win is to actually narrow down. Eliminate, right? Now, this is how you teach problem-solving to children. Right? Because then they'll realize that the right way to, let's assume it's an elephant, the right way to arrive at that is to narrow down on what could be the thing through these yes or no questions. And that's how we created Guess in 10. And it just
such a simple,
it's super simple concept. In fact, one of the core tenets of our product design process is simplicity. I think it's underrated. It's actually very difficult to make simple products.
100%.
It's easier to make something complex. But nonetheless, हमने ये launch किया और immediately took off as well. So like several things worked for us in 2020. Also, what worked for us was COVID happened, and
Online
so online boom also happened. So after a lot of, I would say, average years where we were growing, 2020 was just a straight up. So that 10 crores went to 50 crores in 2020 in revenue. And that's exactly wo hi hua. So then we also did our Series A in late 2020, where exactly that, like, you know, we had a conversation with Sequoia and they were like, look, this is amazing. Take more capital and let's grow further. Invest more in our products. So then we raised about $6 million. Like 3 million came, I think, end 2020, and 2021 beginning another 3 million came. And that was our Series A. Then we used that money again to expand the assortment, build the team, standard things. ऐसा कुछ, you know, special नहीं किया था. We were still very much in India. COVID भी था. So it was, while all this was going on the good side, the backend was chaos because सब factories बंद हो गए थे, right? You know, you're not allowed to work. Then
सब contract manufacturing चल रहा है अभी.
पूरा. I mean, we had some facilities, but you know, we used to essentially control the so agar tooling tha, we used to buy the tooling. If it's the molds, we used to buy it. If it is a content, we used to design it. So just in our mind, we were still the manufacturer.
I'll come back to manufacturing later. Yeah.
But that was challenging because pura backend shut ho gaya tha, and we are seeing skyrocketing demand. And at the same time, you had like your offline sales had gone to zero. India mein jo offline sales tha, because so lot of things to deal with at the same time. Most importantly, ambiguity tha na kafi, and so we navigated that period.
COVID
2020 and 2021 bhi, I think COVID continued. I think reopening hua 2021 mein. The business kept growing, right? You know, at that point we started to build a proper product engine. कि नए products, नए categories में constantly launch हो रहे थे. Product team was building, supply chain was getting stronger. Brand salience America में बढ़ रहा था. We were only doing Amazon at that point in the US. There was a lot of momentum despite all the supply challenges with COVID. 2021 COVID was mostly over. World came back. Luckily, many businesses actually had a high from like in COVID, online businesses, but unka fir dhap ho gaya 2021 mein, many cases, right? Luckily for us, we again almost doubled. We went from 50 to like 90 something crores.
In 2021
in 2021 calendar year. Lot of things.
Profitable right now, 2021?
2021, again, 2021 were marginally loss making.
1-2-3% types.
5% types, I would say.
But by design. Like,
yeah, I mean, in the sense we knew what we were doing. We were profitable at CM2 level, but we were at that point like growing. We were investing so much in team and growth.
Makes sense.
But not like nothing crazy, right? Like,
I mean, 4 crore loss is nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing. But I mean, I think as a principle, we've never believed in losing too much money, and we never have actually. So 2021, that was the main focus. Ended 2021, momentum was strong. And that's when we raised our Series B, where we realized that, look, now we need one real, because there it was clear that America mein total PMF hai. And we're like, look, we can't go the distributor route again. So agar America mein jana hai, then we have to do what Unilever did when they came to India, which is set up a local team. Ulta means we have to set up a team in America.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right? So we're like, but now for that, you need more capital because these are American salaries, American operations, American warehousing, everything is way more expensive. So we raised a 16 million Series B. All our existing investors, whether it is Sequoia Peak 15, now it was still Sequoia Capital at that time, Sequoia Capital, Sofina was the new fund who came in. Also all our family offices. So we had one large family office, which is Jalaj Dani, who's the promoter of Asian Paints. Him, Aryan Patni, there were a few other sort of... No, yeah, but they are not involved. In our investment is Jalaj Dani and Aryan Patni. They were sort of some other family offices, and we had some other, angel investors. Well, all of them doubled down in this round, and sort of everyone came in, and that was our last round of funding. And that was what we used to really scale up systems, operations.
2022.
2021 was when we raised. 2022 the money came in. and then we like
What all did you do in 2022?
a lot. Like I think we
Pivotal year.
yeah, I'm trying to think that what all we did. I think the priority that time was building out the US operations, so warehousing, team. We started hiring in America.
You built the office in Palo Alto, no?
Yeah, we had one office in California. Now our main office is in Dallas. So we have two. Our marketing team sits out of California, and our sales team sits out of Texas largely. And we started to build the US operations full-fledged. And we needed people to go after
You went
accounts.
there, US spent time?
A lot of times. I used to be there all the time actually. So that was the main focus. And so there we went from, and then we also basically launched Amazon in the UK. So we got into the UK market through Amazon as well. India continued to grow for us as well. And so, the business grew quite a bit. So I think we went from
90 crores.
90 something crores to like 180 something crore. No, it was more, right? What was it? Yeah, 180 crores ish. So we again doubled again. This year, the main focus was to build all the supporting capabilities, right?
2022.
Yeah. Make sure your
Infrastructure, basically.
infrastructure, that's the absolute right word. Start to build systems, start to build leadership, a real leadership team.
You had a CEO of US?
No, I still am the CEO of both countries, and I go there.
But like a right hand in the US, you must have.
Yeah, we started building like senior people, right? Head of brand marketing, head of sales. Started to try to build a very decentralized leadership. So just to give you a sense, like our average age in India is like, is maybe half that of our US team. So our US team is very senior, experienced
Like
people.
40 people, 40 years old.
Yeah. I mean, say like, from 40 to 60, I would say.
And here in India?
India probably like 20 to 40, right? And so we went for a lot of experience, and because again, there the idea was to have their networks, their relationships.
Makes sense.
Their
You don't have leverage there. So
exactly.
You leverage is via those team members.
Correct, exactly. And whereas in India, we wanted hunger and drive and creativity and so
जो
on.
यहाँ पे वहाँ पे नहीं जो वहाँ पे वहाँ पे नहीं वाला
Correct,
फंडा.
exactly, bang opposite. And so very different strategies also on how
मजा
to
आया
do-
होगा लेकिन बनाने में तो.
yeah, it was fun. Also learning, right? I feel I felt that like work ethic was also way better. I felt that funnily enough, younger people in the US, I don't know how, like their work, and I think also coming out of COVID, a lot of people were like only wanted to work from home and stuff, right? Understandably so, but we were so young that we needed that intensity to get going. So those are the main, I would say, main things. But around that time, I think is when the business started to also kind of get little out of hand in terms of how to manage it. And that's when
Too big.
Yeah, it was getting big, fast. I was also new to building systems. Luckily at that time I had, I had this program that I was part of, which I got where, I got Binny Bansal as a mentor as part of this program.
What's the program?
It's called X to 10X. It's a program. It's a consulting firm that he's founded. They work with Sequoia portfolio companies, certain high growth companies, and then they mentor you over a period of 6 months. So Binny was my.
I've heard about them.
Yeah,
Bangalore based.
Yeah, Bangalore based. So Binny was my mentor. So I spent and I learned a lot through my the mentorship he gave me. Where he like
That was a game changer.
It is a game changer. In terms of how do you scale a fast-growing business? How do you think of this principle of OKRs? And I'm not getting into it. It's pretty technical, but काफी कुछ सीखा कि how to think about organizing to scale. And that played out, right? The following year we went from 180 to 290 crores.
2022.
Yeah. Yes. 2023 we went to 290 crores, profitable.
Turned profitable in 2023.
Yeah.
Congrats, bro.
Yeah. No. Meaningfully, I think the scale grew.
What worked in 2023?
I think honestly nothing new. Just more.
Just
of
the
the same.
investment, upfront money started giving a return. The economies of scale started coming in.
Exactly, like standard consumer business, right? Like you started to see clear compounding. Product engine was firing. We were entering more categories, more products. distribution was getting deeper in every market we were in. मतलब online भी थे, अभी offline भी बढ़ रहा था. We were entering more and more channels. We had focused on US, India, and UK, so we went deeper into those countries. So it's just honestly,
US, India,
it's just
UK.
I would say the three things that worked was there was greater brand awareness building, there was more product lines that we were adding, and there was more distribution we were adding. So all three
Very fundamental stuff.
very basic stuff, and there was nothing rocket science, right?
नया market, नया product, नया distribution.
Bus just and it's like basic अच्छा product है, take it as far as possible, and that's basically that's kind of what happened, and then in 2023 I believe.
Yes, 2023 you said 290 crores.
And then we went from 2023 to 2024 calendar year, we went to almost 500 crores. A calendar year, full year.
24 full year.
Yeah.
Jan to December 24.
Jan to December. And that's when it was a big milestone because we hit the 500 crore mark, which was a big deal for us. I think for me it was always 100 crores and then 500 crores. And again, nothing really new again. It sounds like these numbers are bigger and bigger, but in a way, this is what compounding is, right? Like this is it just plays out. I think one thing that helped is that our offline business in the US started to kick in a big way. All that investment we did in 2022 in building the offline team, we started to see big results.
Families and Target and all that.
Walmart and Barnes and Noble and
Costco,
Kohl's and all these retailers that we started to sell into.
Kohl's also.
Yeah, Hobby Lobby, Michael. Like we started selling into these chains, and we started doing meaningful revenue. So that's why that jump became again so much, because we unlocked a new channel of growth, right? If you think about it, and so that was really the big unlock there. And again we were profitable very meaningfully in 2024. And that's pretty much the journey before this year. Just trying to think if there's anything else material. No, that was pretty much it. So again, we had not raised much money. We were profitable. We were growing. I think by the end of 2024, we had more cash and net working capital than what we had raised. That was the 24 million or so.
Correct.
So it was a great year from that perspective. Like, we hit the 500 crore mark. We had essentially more capital than we had ever raised. Everything was going well. Solid team had been consistent. And then comes 2025 and, all this tariffs chaos. So, I mean, like I said, I think that's one thing you learn about businesses like this. If you see in our journey, it's always like, there are good years, bad years, good years, bad years, good years, bad years, right? So in 2025, this year has been definitely challenging. So I think on all of this, like India has been growing really, really well for us, right? Even last few years. So our India business has been growing at almost 100% every year.
Double over.
Yeah. And a lot of tailwinds in India. BIS has been introduced, which is reduced all these Chinese imports. हमारे market में 80% of goods were Chinese imports.
बिल्कुल.
तो वो सब, I mean, कम हो गया है. I don't think it's gone, but कम तो definitely हो चुका है. There is a greater shift to branded. And our brand Skillmatics is now widely recognized in India as like a high quality brand. It's a lot of trust has been built also because of time, right? We started in 2017 in India, so there's been a lot of trust that has been accumulated by consistently delivering value to parents and children. And so we started to see a lot of inflection in our India business, which is a real big growth.
India is what, 15% of the business?
India is 30% by volumes.
15% by revenue.
About 15% by revenue.
And 75% is US.
No, see again, if I take volumes, volumes is the like-to-like comparison, right? Because it removes pricing as a sort of weight. The US is about 55. Last year, this year may change, but last year, 2024 was maybe 50-55% was the US, but 25-30% broadly was India. UK is about 10%, and then a few other markets. But we're primarily focused on US, UK, India.
Got it. What's so special about UK, India, US?
I think there's consistency of English is one very common trait, right? That these markets are all English-speaking markets.
Australia,
right?
New Zealand,
sure, but
Dubai.
They're much smaller. Wherein we've launched in Australia, we've launched in the Middle East, but they're smaller, na? like the combination of a English speaking
Very
market
interesting point.
with large TAM.
What about Europe?
So Europe is not English speaking, right?
Spanish.
Western Europe, in fact, actually none of Europe, right? Largely it's all local languages. So we decided to go into Europe through distribution partnerships, largely.
And you're planning to like have languages also then?
And we do it in different languages.
You already did?
So we do German, French, Russian, Polish, but there we don't do it directly ourselves because each market is very different, right? There is a local language, like, it's a distinct culture. So, it's also matter of focus for us. And our focus is very much these English-speaking countries, which have also similar education systems, largely, right? UK, India is so highly similar.
Yeah.
In fact, we are a full derivative property of that, right? I mean, at least.
Yeah.
So,
They are our parents.
Well,
Not by choice.
I wouldn't say they were our parents, but they had forcibly adopted us
Not
for
by
some
choice.
period of time.
Yeah, not by choice.
But nonetheless, very similar systems, and therefore, हमारा focus let's focus here, and also see these are deep markets. Like, see, the US is 35% of the global market. So just keep focusing there. Na, abhi tak, still, I mean, I know we've become larger and larger, but still, itna depth hai that why go elsewhere, right? First, become even bigger there. And similar view in UK, right? That there's sufficient depth. It's a much larger economy, and India, while not as deep in terms of market size, the growth rate is the highest here. Nobody is growing at the rate India is growing at, right? I mean, I don't think dunya mein aisa market hai that is like India. I'm completely bullish on India. We have the perfect recipe for growth in this country, right? If I look at like, GDP growth, infrastructure development, digital infrastructure, I mean, everything is in our favor. Young population. If I had to go double click on hamari category mein, today people are having children later in life. Like when
30 plus.
When 30 plus, like I was 30 plus when me and Priyanka had Asan Javi, right? My parents had me in early 20s, right? Literally, I think it's almost a 10-year gap. I don't know the exact number, but it must be almost a 10-year gap. Second thing is, people are dual income now. Right? Urban families may to definitely.
For sure.
Right? So not only people having having children later in life, they're now dual income. And so therefore their approach to products for their children is always that I want the best for my child. And so if you are offering quality products, it's a great market to be in. And India is in a young population. If you look at our population distribution, it's today most of them are not even in that marriageable age. Eventually, all of these guys will,
Next 5 years.
in the next 5, 10, 15 years, will all get married and all will have kids. While people talk about declining birth rates and all of that, by India, I don't think that is going to be a reality, right? Yes, it will go down.
Not for at least next 25, 20
But again, the
years.
go down is at the averages. People will stop having 7 kids and 5 kids and all of that, right? That will start bringing the number down. That used to happen, with greater education and all. But I think people will have 1 and 2 kids, and they will go out of their way to make sure their children have the best. So, very, very bullish market and opportunity. And that's been a big focus for us. This year, definitely tariffs has been like a major...
How has that been? Like, kya ho raha hai? Kaise?
I mean, look, in some ways, it's similar to COVID, where it's similar characteristics, right? कि भाई ambiguity है global macro.
अभी क्या हुआ? अभी इफेक्ट हुआ है कुछ?
हाँ, इफेक्ट तो है. Like,
टैरिफ बढ़ गया है.
देखो, पहले क्या था, हमारी कैटेगरी में टैरिफ 0 था. टैरिफ्स आ गए थे, लेकिन बहुत जल्दी 10% हो गए थे.
अगर 100 रुपए का आपने बनाया है, 500 का बेच रहे हो, तो अब
टैरिफ आपका जो एंट्री प्राइस है यूएस में, यू हैव टू पे अ टैरिफ ऑफ 10%.
तो
मतलब जस्ट थिंक ऑफ इट लाइक योर कॉस्ट हैज गॉन अप बाय 10%. सिंपल वे टू थिंक अबाउट इट, राइट?
But MRP वाला cost की cost वाला cost?
Your cost, not MRP. You can pass on the price if you want.
COGS का cost बढ़ गया.
COGS का cost बढ़ गया, right? It's like a tariff is on your cost, right?
Fair.
It's that basically जब हम import कर रहे हैं into the US, you have to pay a tariff on that entry price. Now, so the 10% was not a very big deal, frankly speaking. Of course, cost बढ़ गया था, लेकिन it was only by 10%, right? It was not something.
And US anyways higher margin, so
Yes, correct. We had the margin to absorb it. It was not a big deal.
you didn't pass it on to the customers.
We did not pass it on to the consumer because we wanted to be competitive in terms of pricing, or it was in fact काफी फायदा भी हुआ था because China had gone to 145%, right? बीच में. So for example, हमारा जो assortment Walmart में है, we quadrupled our assortment because suddenly 4 times because suddenly everyone is looking to India for a solution. सारे जो US retailers थे, so हमारा जो offline like momentum था actually went even more because
बढ़िया है तो.
Yeah, so in fact while I would not have envisioned this scenario ऐसा
More volume at a little less margin.
Yeah, but ठीक है, but इतना बढ़ रहा था ना because they are also now like कि we can't, I mean, so there was a lot of momentum towards India. Actually, COVID के time से I think the world has realized that there cannot be such extreme supply chain dependence on China. Because even 2021 में global supply chains went for a toss, right? So, and everything was being made in China at the time. And since then, there has been a sort of China plus one movement, right? Ki how do you diversify
Vietnam,
sourcing?
Indonesia, India.
It's not only India things. I mean, several countries. It could also be local sourcing, basically alternative, right? That could be domestic in your country. It could be in Vietnam. It could be in India. It's a movement that is clear. I think this again accentuated that in a way, right? And so I think हमारे लिए it was beneficial actually, but definitely navigating all of this complexity this year has been very challenging, right? Because how do you do pricing? The cost ही पता नहीं है. So, like, right? It's definitely been
funny.
Right? Like it's like the way I like to describe it कि हम game खेल रहे हैं लेकिन rules पता नहीं है. Or rules are changing. And so
crazy. Every day you are waking up to like अरे भाई क्या करना है अब.
So ठीक है, it's part and parcel of business.
But sounds fun to me. Like I'm sure मैं outside.
No, it's fun in a very different way that like see जितना भी business, my mental model is that like, but yeah, I think that's 2025. Let's see how this year goes. And
nice. This year on track to do 650.
Hopefully.
Crazy. 10 years maybe you should be at I don't know 5,000 crores.
Hopefully again too tough to say. I think there are some founders and entrepreneurs who can think like that.
Do you think like that?
No, I don't. I'm a very step-by-step kind of individual. It's just my mental model. I don't believe in a limitation, but I believe in like, I of course, as you get bigger, you think bigger. It's just part and parcel of like life. It's kind of how I feel every human will behave. But I didn't start this business saying that it's going to be 5,000 crores in revenue one day, right? I said, okay, let me get to 100 crores. When I got to 100 crores, I'm like, let me get to 500 crores. Right now, I'm like, okay, we have to get to 1,000 crores, and then let's see. I think the good thing is that we operate in a market that is got no defined limits. If I was building this business only in India, then there are natural constraints, right? Because the market size is limited. So to some degree, you cannot become. There will be limitations on your growth because of the size of your domestic.
You're almost 100 crores in India also, no?
Yeah. I think we should cross that number soon. And the opportunity, because it's a global business, is much larger, right? Like I gave the example of Lego. Lego is 90,000 crores in revenue.
What's their split like? Have you studied them?
Yeah, I have studied them. So 90,000 crores, and I'm saying 1,000. I mean, there is a lot of room. I'm not saying we will get to 90,000, but I mean, and just keep in mind, Lego is single digit market share. So when you put it in perspective.
So what's the market like? Unorganized to organized?
Globally, I would say it's quite organized.
Organized?
Yeah.
So there are like what, 10-15 players at 8%, 5%, 6%?
No, there are many. So Lego is an example. There are many.
What is Hamley's number?
Hamley is a retailer. It's a little different. I don't know the number.
Lego के अलावा और कौन सी companies हैं?
काफी है. There are like Mattel, which must be like 5 to 10. Mattel has Barbie, Uno. Okay. These are all their brands.
Mattel.
Hot Wheels.
They are what, 5%?
I don't know their percentage, but they would be well above 5. They would be 5 to 10 billion in revenue, I would assume. I don't know the like specific, but the point I'm trying to make is that like there are enough large players, right? There are many companies who I know of who are over $1 billion in revenue.
Now that story is what you understood, हम एक एक करके function में जाते हैं. like manufacturing कैसे करते हो, supply chain में क्या होता है, product raw materials क्या है, innovation is a big part of your company, उस पे बात करेंगे, marketing strategy, all of that एक करके करते हैं. पहले manufacturing बताओ कैसे evolve हुआ था, कैसे manufacturing होती है?
I think manufacturing is sometimes in general not. I think the way we think of manufacturing is that all the core IP should be owned and controlled by us. अगर plastic product बना रहे हो तो mold हमारा होना चाहिए. अगर artwork print हो रहा है product पे,
मतलब raw materials आप खरीद के अपने contract manufacturer
नहीं. The IP should be ours. मतलब say for example, there's a mold that is used to make a product. That mold should be mine. Right now in our journey, let us become best at something. And I think if we are the best at product innovation and let's say digital first brand building and go to market and using like a technology enabled business, these are the things that we can become the best at. Really, let's become the best at that. And
I love it.
And see, because we're competing in a global market, right? So I need to be and I think the good thing about a global market is if you're the best at one thing, you will get rewarded. And so let's see, over time we may scale up manufacturing and so on, but right now I don't personally see any need to really invest there. I would rather invest my focus and my capital on the front end, which is sales, product innovation,
marketing and all.
So that's how we do manufacturing in a nutshell.
But इसमें a sideline question, what do you think about manufacturing in India? क्या होने वाला है? मतलब हम और manufacturing
I think we have no option. I feel like I think the जो सारे economists का जो notion था that India should become a service-led economy, I don't agree with that.
Change हो रहा है?
I think we have to invest in manufacturing as a country. I don't think it's a option for a couple of reasons. We are a large young population. You can only create jobs in manufacturing. Services, in fact, I feel are getting, now with AI coming in, I do think that service jobs will decline, right? All your call center jobs, IT services jobs. I mean, AI will be able to do all this much, much better. Customer service, some will be automated. So I see a lot of headwinds for that from a job perspective. Whereas manufacturing, while people say robotics, automation, a lot of industries are very labor intensive. Textiles, toys, leather, footwear, ये सारे labor intensive industries है, and we have the benefit of a large labor population with a lower labor cost than China, and so we should be taking up all of this in a big way. It's also important that manufacturing happens in India में for self-reliance, right? We can't be dependent on China also for variety of reasons, right? And given the large domestic market India में जो is now being created, I think manufacturing in India is like an inevitability, has to happen. And it is happening, right? You're seeing it left, right, and center. You're hearing the Apple iPhone is being made here, and semiconductors are being made here. And look, I still feel we're far away from China. I'll be honest. It's not like why.
Have you been to China?
Of course, many times.
I want to go.
They're very advanced. I mean, if you compare, like, let's just take a standard plastic toy manufacturing factory in India and one in China, there is a world of a difference. Part of it is also because how they built their ecosystem. They're years ahead of us, right? It's not a fair comparison. The way they built their clusters, and I mean, there's a reason they control the world's manufacturing. ऐसा कोई fluke तो incident नहीं है ना? Like, so they are advanced. They are ahead of the curve. But I mean, I think in a way it's good. There is a playbook for us to follow.
Learn from them.
You should learn from them. There's no problem, right? You should learn how they've done it. Imbibe best practices. Wherever required, can there be R&D transfer, tooling? I'm quite bullish कि India में we should be like pretty advanced in manufacturing over the next decade. I wouldn't be surprised and all. We're making defense equipment and all, like, so. I think that's very, very important in India. There's so much to do. We don't manufacture anywhere near as much as we should. If you look at it as a percent.
क्यों ऐसा क्या? The problem क्या है? हमारा mindset नहीं है.
Mindset नहीं है. Look, there are challenges, right? Like, firstly, like, doing business in India has dramatically improved over the last, let's say, 10, 20 years.
मेरे को तो अभी बहुत मुश्किल लगता है.
नहीं, I mean, because I know. वो तो Like it's difficult to do business in India. Like let's be honest, right? It's not easy. But the question I always look at is not what is the current state, but what is the delta change, right? That is what needs to be looked at. If I had to look at 9 साल पहले when I started my business, boss, तब octroi and all था. Okay, there's octroi in VAT and all. GST भी नहीं था when I started the business. So I'm saying that like, there has been a lot of simplification as things have become more digitized, and look, I'm not saying the way I would look at this is that India, it's not, if you compare India with say America, yes, ease of doing business is not comparable, right, at this point. But has it improved? Yes. Is it continuously improving? Yes. So same question when you apply to manufacturing. To run a factory was an extremely difficult task, right? Abhi wo badal raha hai. Like it's becoming easier and easier to manage land, labor, and so on. Rules are getting lesser, complexities are getting lesser. GST has simplified things dramatically. All this octroi sab nikal gaya. So it's getting easier. The other piece is that now there is more capital availability. See, how do you start you need money na to build factories. So barring like your 5-10 conglomerate families, like, other people also need access to capital, right? And today that is happening. You have a private capital ecosystem. You have private equity, venture capital. These guys are also willing to invest in manufacturing, which was earlier, like if you go 10 years ago, when VCs would never invest in manufacturing. VCs would only invest in capital, like technology business or consumer brands, broadly. Essentially asset-light businesses. Both of these are. That's changing now. You see like all capital-intensive manufacturing, drones, aerospace, all of that getting semiconductors, precision manufacturing, getting VC money also. Even at early stage. So there is now also more capital available. And I think that's also a very, very good thing. So as these things come together, it'll be there. I don't think it's a mindset problem. I think the mindset is also changing. So earlier I think we had this mindset of like good enough. I think that has to change to like best. There's a huge difference. And we cannot say that this is good enough. It has to be the best. And when I say best, I mean in quality, right? That has to be the mindset. And could be at any price level. Aisa nahi ki quality means high like price. I'm not saying that. China, at any price level you go, they make iPhones and they make like, all kinds of other rubbish also, right? Like, but at whatever price they target, they do it pretty efficiently. So I think that mindset is changing. It really is changing. I see it on the ground all the time. I think the one thing where India needs to improve en masse is actually service delivery. Means agar we are saying ki we will deliver on this date, the goods have to be ready on this date. Right? That chalta hai attitude that one day delay is okay, 2 din delay is okay.
I agree.
There was a monsoon tha, to warehouse flood hua, so we had to stop production. Holiday hai, and as a result, people have not come. I understand these are challenges. The difference is that I found that in other manufacturing nations, they anticipate these things and plan and give timelines considering these buffers.
Good point.
We don't do good planning in India. I would say en masse, all of us. I'm not trying to put the country down or anything. I think that's an area where we can get a lot better. Being like, for example, at BCG, I used to have a German boss.
You're a German boss.
A German boss in Canada.
I
could not. I mean, it was unbelievable, right? I mean, working with him. I mean, this is just a person, not a country, but he was like literally like a machine, in terms of, and it was actually that it's not like he was working 12 hours a day. He used to work 8 hours a day or whatever the regular times hum kaam karte the, like, but he was so efficient around it, and the efficiency didn't come from anything but exceptional planning. And I feel like if we get better at planning, we will get better at service delivery. Like we cater to a lot of US retailers, right? Hum Walmart ko bechte hain on all these companies. You can't have a single day of delay. It's not acceptable. I mean, you'll be like charged for all of those penalties. And so, that is very, very critical. Like I feel,
right.
And I think it's happening, but I feel like that's an area where we can learn and improve.
Got it. Supply chain कैसे चलता है इसमें? Raw materials to manufacturing to this, so, that कैसे होता है? क्या आपका वो गाड़ी लेना है, flight, all of that logistical?
Yeah.
Where does it start?
Starts with the product. Like you have to start to say कि भाई ये बनाना है, right? These are the specifications. This is the design. Then our supply chain team will figure out कि okay आपको ये चाहिए, कहाँ से लेंगे, like कल आएंगे. Like you have, for example, we make, you know, in our products we don't use plastic dies, we use wooden die, which cost 10 rupees more. I mean 10 times more.
10 times more.
10 times more. I think it's 1 rupee versus 10 rupees. ऐसा कुछ difference है. But wood is obviously more sustainable. It's a more premium feel versus like plastic. And
I'm sure customer appreciate that also.
I hope so. But I think that's kind of, when you say you want to be sustainable, you have to like live it, right? You can't just say you are. Then we basically try to figure out कि भाई कहाँ से manufacture करने वाले हैं. Like sometimes we make it, some parts ourselves, sometimes we make it outsourced. Now again with scale, most of your supply chain is built. You know कि ये सारे raw materials के लिए यहाँ जाना है. अगर कुछ नया बनाना है, then that's actually where the supply chain work really starts, which is identifying and scouting new manufacturers who build these capabilities. What we have found actually in our case is that in most cases we have found a lot of success working with people in adjacent industries and getting them to manufacture toys and games. So we work with people who are in auto components and we convince them to start making our category. Or we worked with large scale packaging companies and got them to start doing this. Because what we found is that these companies have very robust systems and quality checks and scale. And so you have to just convince them that your business will be meaningful enough. So typically that's kind of the approach that we use. Obviously it helps now that we're bigger. So we can promise certain volume.
And how do the deals work with like manufacturers?
Actually very straightforward, right? आप costing करवाते हो, उस costing के basis पे you'll get like couple of quotations from other people. Then it's a quantity cost discussion, MOQ के ज़्यादा. Typically now we are well above our MOQ, so we don't really worry so much about MOQ. We worry about like costing, you know. So like let's say MOQ is 3,000, we'll probably start starting at 20,000. So at 20,000, like what is the benefit? So is 20,000, 15,000, and where is that better cost? And then make that much. Because हर product में cost inflection थोड़ा different रहता है. And then you start, and once you figure it out, typically we always start with, at least if we have shortlisted 4, we'll start with 2. We won't just start with 1. You know, and then it's straightforward. It's
payment cycle कैसे होती है?
Depends on vendors, right? Sometimes if you're starting a new supply chain, I would say the most extreme is that, you know, you're even paying upfront, advance. Maybe not the whole piece, but like some advance and some on delivery. This is the worst payment cycle where you're basically paying on delivery. I think when you're starting with cash flow, it's very terrible for cash flow. But agar you're working with say a larger company and you want to convince them, then this is a way to convince them, saying I'll pay you cash now. Over time, you know, obviously you start to build credit in. I think in certain cases, in most cases, I would say we have 60 days credit, 30 to 60 days credit, depending on what the क्या factory है, क्या terms है. It's essentially part of the commercial negotiation, right? You want, you can use payment or cash as a leverage point. So if I have cash rich, then I can pay better and get better costing. Or I can say that भाई मुझे ज़्यादा credit दे दो, मैं थोड़ा 1-2 rupees I'll give you more, whatever, you know. So, but broadly I would say 30 to 60 days on the
guard
is the general payment term. And closer to 60 I would say.
ये क्या story है खिलौने की, like China खिलौना, like toys in China industry versus India? I remember growing up, I just remember reading news articles how Chinese industries are destroying the Indian toy industry.
Yeah, I think to some degree there's truth to that, right? Like, you know, because क्या होता था that India used to be a dumping ground historically. तो क्या होता था, China used to have a lot of production, they used to have excess production, defect product, reject माल जो US consumer has not taken. They used to just flood the India market, right? That's why 80% of toys in India were from China. And in many cases there were no safety standards, there were no import barriers, so कुछ भी आ रहा था, right? There was no testing norms. Every other market in the world has safety norms around toys. Any developed market, you need to have a certificate that shows you're compliant. I think in the last few years, India has made huge progress. So they've done 2-3 things. One, there are now like safety quality standards called BIS, which is at the product level and the manufacturer level. which has been great in a way to regulate. At least there's some degree of regulation in terms of like what again is the norm globally. Also, I think to promote domestic industry, the Indian market has added higher duties on imports. As a result, I think in the last 3 years, imports from China toys में has fallen 70%. तो अगर 100 import हो रहा था, अभी 30 import हो रहा है. And the market is also bigger. Whereas exports have grown by 80%. So I think that has been very, very good for the domestic market and domestic players. And frankly, good for Indian consumers also, right? Why should we be getting sub-quality material when it's not required? ऐसा नहीं है कि you can't import Chinese material. You can. You just be compliant.
Innovation को कैसे देखते हो आप?
Most important part of our business.
Like you have a team separately कि teachers बैठेंगे, innovator designer बैठेंगे, बस बैठो और करो.
नहीं ऐसा तो इतना सिंपल भी नहीं है. Like I'm saying that we have 300 लोग हैं कंपनी में.
हाँ.
135 are involved in product design and innovation.
तो ज़्यादा बोल रहा हूँ.
So I think it gives you a sense of kitna priority.
Like 40%. That's too much.
Correct. I don't know if it's too much, but I feel that it is the core driver of our business, and we have over-indexed on that as a capability. आपने पहले पूछा कि फैक्ट्री क्यों नहीं खोलते हो? I would rather do this. And हमारी innovation team में there are 2-3 parts to it, right? There is a design team, which is graphic designers, game designers, product designers. They come from mostly design schools, US schools, Indian schools. Like for example, NID has a master's in toy and game design. Gandhinagar जो में है. There are many design schools now. Actually, the field is getting more bigger in India. Then we have industrial engineers, product engineers, people who understand substrates, manufacturing, कौन सा material use करना है. Like the more I would think of them as hardware almost.
Okay.
They have a better insight onto what materials will behave how, what can we use, what we can't use. A link to them is in some way some supply chain capabilities. And then we have a content team. The content team is we call the content team, but essentially हमारे products have a lot of content in them. And I say content, I mean like what is like a book, like printed content. And there we have teachers, educationalists, people who have a background in teaching. We have people who studied, as I mentioned, early childhood education, child psychologists. Their main role is to essentially ensure that learning outcomes are being delivered appropriately by age. And so you can't say you're a learning brand if you don't have people who are actually experts in the field of education, actually involved in the product design process. So innovation कैसे होता है is that
cycle क्या होती है?
Yeah, so the cycle is that look, we launch a lot of products a year. Like we have a very robust,
launch the market.
Yeah, we launch maybe close to 100 products a year.
Per year?
Yeah. And the way we do this is that we have a large team, and so different teams are working on different products and different categories. They are constantly, there is a cycle, right? There is an innovation process where you first identify what is the problem you're trying to solve, what is the unmet consumer need, how are you going to create something which is differentiated. Then you build a prototype, there's a certain amount of testing that's done. Then, so there's a whole process around it, but we do it in parallel across multiple products. Like it's this concept of parallel processing, right? You're basically doing this across different products at different times. The other piece is even when we're developing a single product, forget multiple products, we do parallel processing there as well. Matlab, when the concept is being designed, it's not like the concept gets designed, then the industrial design happens, and then everything happens somewhat in parallel. So as the team is designing the basic idea, the engineering team will already be thinking about ki specs kya honge, prototype kya hoga, even before the actual thing is not finalized. What this does is it makes the thing extremely compressed in terms of time. So we ideate pretty fast. And then because we have an agile supply chain, we also are able to prototype fast, launch fast. So we launch a ton of products. I think what we try and do is that we don't necessarily launch all the products in large quantities. We're very big on testing what products work, what don't, right? Sometimes a product is designed with an India-specific orientation. Sometimes it's a orientation just for the US, but just for the offline market. Now we're developing some products just for, say, quick commerce. So ऐसा नहीं है कि all 100 products are launched everywhere in all channels. There is a strategy per channel, I mean per market, and then within per market per channel. So for example, my AOV, for example, at Walmart is like $5 to $10. My AOV on Amazon in the US is $20. Big difference, right? So the product strategies are also very, very different, and we have different teams working on each of these things. But I think the core tenet on our innovation team is these 2-3 things, which is that one, it has to be learned through play. There has to be a core, something value we are providing in terms of skill building. The second is that there has to be certainly a high degree of differentiation in the product. We would try and stay away from like doing something which is already there, by and large. Because that's what we found, like all our biggest wins, whether it's been our Guess in 10 or our foil fun, or most recently we launched this product called Aqua Puffs. All these products that are like, and some of these product lines do like almost 100 crores in revenue, single product lines, right? Have come because of high degrees of differentiation in the product. So that is our core focus. And our main aim is that, okay, we can launch 100 products, but there has to be some that really work, and then we really scale behind them. So that's really I would say, the innovation process in a nutshell. Like, I think essentially differentiation, speed, and like learning value is really the core part.
Top marketing channels कैसे दिखते हो आप? QC, e-commerce, retail.
The limitations of quick commerce is like you will not have selection everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But whereas like something like an Amazon will give you selection.
It's there.
Oh, it's there. Nice.
Train of thought and animals in the wild and push and pop, guess in 10.
Yeah.
Love it.
Love it. Which platform were you checking?
Blinkit.
Okay. But anyway, and then in the US, actually, we sell even on like platforms like TikTok and stuff like that, right? So there are that kind of commerce is not there in India today. So like those I would say smaller.
When you say that TikTok means like video में देखा वहीं से order कर दिया वाला, so उनका within built D2C रहता है.
Absolutely. So that's
so cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. But it's still smaller, but it's growing. I think so. These are the online channels. Offline, in India, you have modern trade, which is like your Hamleys, your Crossword, like organized retail, Reliance Retail, Smart Bazaar. And then you have unorganized retail, which is your general trade stores. They're local mom and pop sort of stores. I would not call them kiranas, but they're like toy stores and bookstores. So that's
Stationery
the offline.
shops and all that.
In the US, offline retail is broken into like, there is different types of formats. There is mass national retailers like Walmart, Target.
Yeah, Costco.
Right? Costco is a different format called Club. They're like wholesalers. Like you can't buy like when you go to Costco, you can't buy one toilet paper. You have to buy like.
You need a membership also.
Yeah, and you need they give you like 100 toilet paper. So that's the Club channel. Very different format. We don't have that kind of retail format abhi tak India mein. Then you have like travel format retailers, like like there are lots of travel retailer, airport stores and all of that. You have pharmacies which are really large, like CVS. And then you have like specialty stores like Michael's does a lot of art and craft product. Barnes and Nobles is like a bookstore which also does a lot of toys and games. So I guess what you'll notice is that in America there is a lot of specialization even on retail format because it's just a more mature market. And so when you operate in so many types of formats, your product cannot be the same in all. There is some modification in price components to meet the requirement of that channel, right? So someone going into a travel store is buying it to use on the plane, maybe, for example. Someone at Walmart is more price sensitive. Someone at like Barnes and Noble is more like, branding matters more and like quality. And so, you have to eventually start having a nuanced strategy, which is like, what is my product strategy by channel that you have to start building towards, which is now what we are trying to do as well.
Must be a operational headache.
Yeah. Fortunately, we have a very, very, very good team who manages that part of it. But again, it is very operationally complex, no doubt.
Why don't you apply at Shark Tank US?
Honestly, I never thought about it.
Great exposure.
Yeah, we would. I mean, maybe earlier it would have been helpful.
But even now it will be great. Like maybe you not raise funds, but like from a marketing perspective, why not?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I I guess I've just never thought of it. I think honestly the idea of going on TV and pitching is quite scary to me.
Bro, you're damn good at it. You speak well.
No, honestly, I don't know. I'm not like the like I haven't done many podcasts and stuff. It's not like something that like naturally comes to me. So I think like podcasts are still easier because it feels like I'm just talking to you and there's literally nobody else in this room right now. But like the idea of going into like a studio and like I think maybe a bit intimidating. But
Food for thought.
Food for thought. Yeah.
What about the US market? Like, if you can sort of teach us about the US market, how is it different from the Indian
It
market?
is very different. Look, I think the US is a far more developed economy than India is. I think we have to recognize that, right? That couple of characteristics. One is way more developed. It's way richer. Like GDP per capita, $60,000-$70. Here we're at 2,000,
30 times.
whatever it is. I mean, there's like, there is a very different market. However, India has to be de-averaged. India is $3,000, but I mean, we are not selling to all of India, right? I'm not selling today's Skillmatics products are not accessible to say farmers, right? Because of price points. Like our AOVs in India are like $299 to let's say $999. I mean, broad range, right? So you're not catering to a certain part of India. So even India is split. But that being said, I would say principally the biggest differences I would say is that America is more, I think things like innovation and differentiation are very, very important. Look, all of these things are important in both. Don't get me wrong. But I would say that is one. Second thing is they have a higher bar on marketing and branding.
Yeah, they are the best brand
They're the
people
best.
in the world.
I mean, look at the America story, right? Like it's essentially a case study of
I agree. Yeah.
marketing. But
Even the Britishers,
yeah, I
damn
think
good.
the Americans are amazing marketeers. And so like if you want to build a brand in America, you need to be table stakes at that level, which is why our marketing teams are all based out of the US. They're excellent. And I think that the bar on marketing is very high. That being said, look, some of the D2C brands we have in India, I feel are at par. They're just really, really cool, innovative marketing happening in India today as well. Maybe some of the traditional companies as well, but like, I definitely see it more in the new age businesses. So I think that's where America, I would say, is like, has a higher bar and consideration on those criteria. Because they're a richer country, I think price is not as important to them. It's not like it's not. Price is important everywhere. I mean, that's it.
Sure, the sensitivity is
but compared to India,
too sensitive.
India is an extremely price sensitive economy by and large. I think Indians value price above all else. By and large, again, if you de-average India, if you look at the cohort of India that is buying on quick commerce channels and buying online, I think they behave very similarly to American consumers. They care about like innovation, differentiation, brand, convenience, right? Like they care about instant delivery, next day delivery. Like that's essentially you're paying for that, right? So I think there are parts of India that are very, very similar, but by and large, there are these very, very big differences. I think from our perspective, I think that the innovativeness of a differentiation of our product is more appreciated in America, whereas in India, the educational value is more appreciated. I think that's also a reflection of the psyche of, like, I think
India education, US, you said?
The differentiation of the gameplay or the idea. So like while they also appreciate the innovativeness, but what I'm trying to say is that like, I would say they would place a little bit more weightage also on the engagement value.
Correct.
Let's say today there's a product that has an educational value and an engagement value, right? Obviously they care about both.
मजा आना चाहिए थोड़ा सा करते करते.
Yeah.
Experience अच्छा होना चाहिए.
I think also Indians also want that. ऐसा नहीं है कि it's not binary. But I'm saying that the weightage will be more balanced for an American consideration of a mom. Here, I think the educational value will have higher weightage in the consideration on the product itself. And so I think these are some of the major differences between the markets. I think the other just fundamental difference is America is an organized market. You don't have everything is branded, everything is formalized retail, everything is very structured. India is still becoming branded. It is moving
Yeah.
It is getting more organized. So I think it's at a different stage of its journey overall. And in some ways, it's evolving very differently, right? Like we missed the PC and went to phone. We missed, like, I don't know whether how much we've gone to quick commerce. I mean, like, I think in some ways we are evolving in a very different way.
Yeah, different. Yeah.
Yeah, and which is understandable. Even China has evolved in a completely different way. They have, like, live shopping is huge in China. Live shopping has not worked in India at all.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
What about marketing? How do you look at marketing? What is your marketing strategy across channels?
I think we focus on product as the primary driver of marketing, very, very honestly. Meaning, like, how can the product be so unique that it drives word of mouth? How can we build referral loops into the product? Like, for example, we have this guess intent game, right? Now, the game is designed that you have fun. Now, you may like an animal theme, but now you want to learn about countries around the world. So there's another theme. So, like, we add assortment breadth to essentially drive marketing through the product, right? Because you're buying more products because of the products itself. So I think when we think of marketing, we really first start at product marketing itself. Like, how can we use the product to market more products is an important characteristic. The other channels of marketing, I think, if I'm talking more from a channel perspective, is the standard, right? We do a lot of performance marketing, which is like ads on Meta and Google and Amazon.
What's the communication like?
See, so for search marketing there's no communication. So I'm saying, like, that's just your bidding on keywords.
Yeah.
You're doing display marketing, the communication is exactly what our brand promise stands for, right? Like, we focus on learn through play. We focus on the product itself. So in our case, our products are very innovative and things. So we like to showcase the product, right? I would say the product is the hero of most of our ads, like, which is just really just displaying or demonstrating what the product does or how it's being used, or like how it can keep your kids engaged off phones. Like, I think these are the kind of messaging that we like to communicate and demonstrate through, like, say, visual ads and so on. That's pretty much it. No rocket science. We do a lot of partnerships, I feel.
Partnerships as in?
I think that's a type of marketing that we've leaned more into as we've gotten bigger, which is like, we've done collaborations with, like, Pampers and Nestle Lactogrow, and like, for example, with Nestle, we did this thing where, Lactogrow is this infant milk. We had a Skillmatics product alongside every Nestle Lactogrow. Or we do, in America, there is this restaurant chain called Chick-fil-A. It's one of the largest, like, billions of dollars in revenues. One of the largest. It makes chicken sandwiches. One of the largest in America. We had a version of our guess intent product in all the kids' meals. So that kind of marketing is also, like, now something we focus on.
You have to pay them, they pay you, or it's a barter thing. How does that work?
There's no pay so it depends on the model. Like, in some cases, if they are doing the manufacturing, they pay us they pay us a licensing fee for using our product and our brand. So essentially we get paid. In some cases, we do it on a cost basis, where we sort of make the product and we just give it to them at our cost, and then they take it on. So it depends. So it's typically like the various models. Those are some of the models.
What about educational marketing? Like, do you get into systems like line of communications, like early age में आपको अपने बच्चों को सही तरीके से पढ़ाना चाहिए? All of that you don't do.
No.
But that can be a great part of your.
It can, but we don't do that. We don't get into, like. I think it's a blurry line to get into deceptive marketing, where you sort of, I think that line of marketing works very well in India. If you were to adopt it, there have been some edtech startups who have taken that to an extreme, in my view, where you get into, like, ये अगर आप ये करेंगे तो your बच्चे को ये हो जाएगा and all of that. Like, I feel all of that is deceptive.
Okay, fair.
I feel like you are essentially kind of then preying on some sort of parental insecurity.
Fear पे कर रहे हो आप.
Exactly.
Fear-based marketing.
Which I don't agree with.
Okay.
I think you should market solving a problem, which is like, okay, this can, like, help keep your child engaged when you're traveling. This can help your child learn through play. This is what you learn. You can spotlight your product, what it does. I think those are all very healthy, normal ways to market.
Got it.
I'm not a believer in sort of this kind of fear-based marketing.
Design head कौन है आपका?
So overall design rolls into my co-founder. She's sort of leads all creative.
She's the right brain of the business.
She's the exactly. She's right brain. I'm left brain. I think a simple way to think about it. So eventually rolls into her. But then we have other like sort of design.
तो आप बिल्कुल भी मतलब अगर like final say उनका है, उन्होंने बोल दिया design अच्छा है तो अच्छा है.
Absolutely.
You don't interfere.
In fact, it's very important that I don't interfere because I'm unemotional about the products.
Bro, I love your clarity of thought.
Yeah. I am completely unemotional about the products, and it's very important that she's not involved in the marketing because she's never going to be unemotional about the products. It cannot be. If you've created something, how can you be unemotional? So I think division of responsibilities is also very important. Like, so even within marketing, like, more of brand marketing rolls into her because it's more of a creative function, like my co-founder. But like performance marketing and how much capital to allocate behind marketing certain products, that decision should be done based on data and not based on, I mean, of course you can take the input of like what is a high conviction launch and what is not. But overarchingly that division is actually helpful.
मुझे ऐसा लगता है like you're a left brain person, right? Your co-founder is a right brain person. Innovation, product development जो चीज़ें होती हैं, like I am also, I feel a left brain person only. धंधा, पैसा, ये सब चमकता है मुझे. तो मैं इनोवेशन को लेके इतना कुछ क्रेजी नहीं हूँ. भले मेरे को कंटेंट समझ में आता है, ओनली राइट ब्रेन बिकॉज आई एम अ क्रिएटर एज वेल. इनोवेशन, क्रिएटिविटी, डिज़ाइन ये सब मेरे को समझ में नहीं आता है. पहले मैं पूरा सेंटेंस बोल देता हूँ, फिर आप बताना. मुझे ऐसा लगता है क्योंकि आप भी लेफ्ट ब्रेन हो, फाइनेंस, मनी, ऑल ऑफ दैट, आपको भी उतना इनोवेशन, डिज़ाइन ये सब समझ में नहीं आता है. आपकी को फाउंडर को बहुत समझ में आता है, आपने वो उनको दे दिया है. बट यू स्टिल वेरी गुड एट आइडेंटिफाइंग कि ये मेरे को नहीं आता है, मैं ये इसको दूंगा, ये करेगी, इसको मैं टीम हायरिंग में हेल्प कर दूंगा, कैसे कैसे करना है, फिर मैं अपना ये धंधा देखूंगा. इज दैट करेक्ट? और
yeah, I would say that's true not only for innovation, I would say for many things. So while I may be analytical, I don't know if I'm the best person at operations, right? So do you have the best person who can do
so
that?
Like a killer CEO.
Yeah, we do, right? And so like that, right, you have to identify what are the it's not just right brain, left brain. Right brain, left brain, I think makes it binary.
It's simplifying.
I feel like, you should not think of this in a binary way only, right? Like at least the way I think about it is, as much as you can, you should try and identify who are the right people who can do that. Our job as like founders or CEOs is that to identify like, what are the problems, what are the capabilities needed, and identifying the right people to bring into the fold who are going to fit into our culture and who can solve those. It's very rare that the founder is good at everything. Multiple disciplines.
Okay, so another question. For example, if I was Dhwanil of 2016, 2017, मेरे दिमाग में ये आता है मेंटल ब्लॉक कि यार मेरे को डिजाइन नहीं आता है, मेरे को प्रोडक्ट बनाना नहीं आता, ये सब मेरी बस की बात नहीं है. आप कह रहे हो ये गलत अप्रोच है, आपकी अपॉर्चुनिटी, आपने मार्केट ढूंढ लिया, आपको पता है यहाँ पे अपॉर्चुनिटी, आपको बिजनेस करना आता है. Find someone who can do that for you. Don't leave that opportunity.
I absolutely agree. I think that is my view, and I feel that you should not go after a business opportunity. If you're a business person, like let's take that as a starting point. See, some people are naturally like inclined differently, but if you are a business person, आपको धंधा चमकता है, you're you have that sort of entrepreneurial DNA, that banya kind of mindset, then you should not be limited to go after an opportunity because you may not be the the person who's like knowing how to do it.
Invest time in finding that person,
or find ways around it, right? Like I see also a business is not just a product, it's a combination of multiple things, right? Like there is a product, there is a business model, there is a supply chain, there is a capital structure. It means eventually there is a lot of aspects that go into building a system, which is essentially a company. And so my view is that you should not take that as a limiting factor ki bhai mujhe nahi aata hai. Give me the best example, right? When we started this business, none of us were parents. Like, let's just start there. Like forget all this right brain, left brain. Simplest point, right? Like today you'll most inclined to start a brand where you are a consumer, right? Because I feel but then in fact, so I'm saying that these are not natural limitations. Like obviously now we are parents, but we weren't parents. Now how did we do it? So these are all like very solvable problems.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dhwanil.
Thanks, man.
Amazing. I had a lot of fun. I hope you also
I did. Thank you so much for having me, dude.